Alright guys, we come across some curly dock here. If y'all remember back a few segments on the MeatTrapper radio, we made crackers from the
seeds.
From the seed stock.
Alright fellas, MeatTrapper here, and I have got a treat for you today. We are out here in western Tennessee, and I am here with Mr. Clint Thomas. And Clint is an expert on wild edibles and foraging. Now we're out here, and he has never been here before, so we are cold rolling into this territory. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start walking through the woods, and he is going to school me on how to forage and how to identify wild edibles. And I know I'm going to learn a lot, and I think you will too. So Clint, how long have you been into foraging for wild edibles, and how did you get started?
I've always been interested in the outdoors as a little kid. You know, a lot of the boys are. Whenever I was a little kid, I remember watching a TV show. It's called Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, and I remember watching a Shaolin monk eat a rose petal off of a rose plant.
Yeah.
And that really intrigued me about the outdoors. And another time, I remember watching a family member of mine harvesting pine needles, making pine needle tea.
Right.
And that's what really kind of got the ball rolling. And then, anyway, I met an Indian lady there in Oklahoma by the name of Jackie Dill, my mentor.
Yeah.
And she was taught by her grandmother, who was a Cherokee medicine woman.
Right.
And it was just passed down from generation to generation, and she passed that knowledge along to me and my brother and sister.
Right.
And just went on from there. I've been foraging and wildcrafting for several years now.
Yeah.
I try to put it in practice in my everyday life whenever I can, but working and living on the road sometimes it makes it pretty hard, you know. But
well, I tell you, I have certainly learned a lot from you already. Now, if you are all on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/MeatTrapper and get signed up. And if you're listening to MeatTrapper Radio, Clint has done multiple segments on gathering and foraging and preparing wild edibles. And we're not just talking about eating leaves like a rabbit. We're talking about producing good, healthy meals for your family. And so I've already learned a lot. There's a lot of material that he's already done. So let's go ahead and get started. You ready to go?
Yes, sir. Sure.
All right, let's do it. Okay, and what is this, Clint?
This is a wild violet. Whenever it's flowering, you know, it'll have a blue to purple flower on it. Wild violets are usually just used as a salad green.
Okay.
The flowers you can use to make hard candy, syrup, and jellies with.
Okay. So basically, when we're coming through here and we see this, and it's characterized by that heart-shaped flower with that deep V in it, I could just pick that right there, put that in my pack, and that's going to be in my salad tonight, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
All right, what we found here is some Dayflowers. And how you use these, you just cut them up into 1.5 inch pieces, throw it in the stir fry, braise it, saute it. Really good stuff.
Now the identifying feature on that would be the blue flowers and then the elongated leaves.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and it looks kind of like, I don't know, bamboo shoots, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, the pods that the flowers grow out of, they open up kind of like Venus flytraps.
Oh yeah. Okay. Look at that. Interesting. All right. Good to know. And that's a Dayflower.
Dayflower, yes, sir.
All right.
All right, here's the Dayflower that we just found, and a similar plant. You notice how the leaves are attached to each plant. This one has a sheath that kind of goes around the stem, and with this one, there's little tiny fuzzy hairs where the leaf is attached to the stem. Not sure what this is, whether it's a poisonous lookalike or just one that is similar, but you definitely want to be able to identify the two and distinguish two apart.
You got to be certain.
That's right.
Because I don't mind admitting, I'm the one that picked this one here and thought it was a Dayflower, and he said, nope, wrong. And that's just because you got to know what you're doing. You got to look at the tiny details. So Good deal. All right, and this is, what did you say, Clint? Horse chestnut?
Horse chestnut, yes, sir.
Interesting. This, we found a tree here, and it's just loaded with these. They kind of sort of look like a hickory nut, but it's not. It's got these bumps all over the outside of it, and when you cut it open in this stage, this is what it looks like. And what did you say? It's poisonous, mildly toxic, or what?
Yes, it's moderately poisonous, and the toxin is destroyed by roasting or boiling. It's used to reduce swelling, increase skin tissue, increase the circulation, and encourages flexibility.
Interesting.
But with it being moderately poisonous, you definitely want to be careful with
this one. That's a new one to me. I did not know that.
All right, guys, we come across some curly dock here. If y'all remember back a few segments on the MeatTrapper radio, we made crackers from the
seeds.
From the seed stock. This one here is a little past its prime, but just so you kind of get a look at the color of
yeah, because it is August. You know, this we're not doing this in prime time. This is August. But and so this is the leaves down here, right?
Right. These are the leaves. This one right here, you could probably eat right off the plant. These two here.
Yeah.
You know, nice young tender ones. This one here would be a little bit tough. But this is the plant that we was talking about making the cream of dock soup.
Yep. And I've eaten the leaves just straight picking them off the ground and eating them as I go.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff that way.
And so then when it matures, and this is the seed pod, you'd gather the seeds and then you grind them up into flour and make your crackers or what have you out of that.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Great. You can see we've got a bunch of it back here. Now, how do we harvest those seeds and prepare them?
To harvest the seeds, you just take it like that, and they strip off real easy.
Gotcha.
And you take them home, put them in a mortar and pestle, crush them up, grind them up, you know, put them in a food processor, add your flour and other ingredients that we talked about on MTR and
on the podcast.
And
so that's easy. You just come along, just strip them like that, and then put them in a baggie, and off you go.
Yep.
Outstanding, man. All right,
fellas, what we found here, this is known as bee balm or bergamot. It's used for lung issues, coughing and that kind of stuff, and it's also used as an insect repellent. But if you break up the leaves here and get those oils going, man, does it smell like lemon.
It does. It really does. I was shocked at how pungent an odor just one single leaf has when you crush it up like that. Now this is not what it looks like when it's flowering. This is, like I say, we're in August here and it's past prime. But I can only imagine a tea made out of that. That would be really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Also used as insect repellent. But whenever it is past its prime, you can see these 3 little flower tufts right here.
Yep.
And that's, you know, they don't always have 3, sometimes they have 2, and sometimes there's just the 1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can see taking those leaves and crushing it and rubbing it on your skin. I can definitely see that as being an insect repellent, man.
Yeah.
I tell you, I'm learning a lot. I would have walked right past that. Awesome stuff. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, here we got some carpet weed. Every part of this plant is edible. This plant is high in nitric oxide, which lowers blood pressure. It's good for bodybuilding.
Wow.
Building muscle tissue. And for us men, that's good for sexual power, you know.
Well, that plant is mine.
You can have it all you want.
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, just right out here, you can see we're just out on an open field walking along, and he spotted it. And you know, one of the interesting things is I actually take some supplements that have nitric oxide in it that opens the vascular system, and it allows you to more readily absorb other supplements. And so instead of paying for it, here's a natural variety right here. Fascinating, man. Cool. Good deal, man.
Alright fellas, this right here a lot of y'all might be familiar with. This is wood sorrel. You can tell by the heart-shaped leaves. You know, it's kind of a trail snack for most people. It has a real tangy, lemony flavor.
It really does. I was shocked at how pungent and potent that lemon flavor is when I tried that. Really, really good. Really good. Just walk along and pick it and,
yeah,
and eat it.
The flowers are edible. This would probably be real good in just a side salad dish.
Yeah. Great. Great. Man, really good stuff. I was shocked at that. Thing that I have a question, Clint, is to me the wood sorrel looks a lot like regular clover. How do you tell that apart?
For one, the leaves are heart-shaped on wood sorrel.
Gotcha. Clover
it's more of an oval or oblong shaped leaf.
Gotcha.
And on the top part of the leaf, there's kind of a white halo.
Gotcha.
Ring to look for.
Yep.
And clover is edible too. I mean, you see deer eating that stuff all the time.
Yeah, but it doesn't taste as good as this stuff. I can promise you that.
Right.
Now, not all plants are edible and good for you. And so, what do we have here, Clint?
This is pokeweed. A lot of people back home in Oklahoma, you see how dark these berries can be. They call this inkberry plant.
Okay.
I guess you could use those berries as an ink or type of dye. This is a toxic plant, poisonous plant, but it's still edible. The part that you want to use for eating are the leaves. And the way you make these edible is that you pack a pot with the leaves and you boil it in water.
Okay.
And you have to boil it in anywhere from 3 to 5 changes of clean water.
Change the water out and get the toxins out.
Right.
Then you could eat it.
So once it's boiled the first time, drained it off, get as much of the liquid out of it, clean change of water,
yep.
Boil it again, and just do that repeatedly, like I said, up to 5 times to get all the toxins out. A lot of people in Oklahoma survived off this plant during the Great Depression and Dust Bowl era. I mean, this stuff just goes everywhere down there.
Yeah.
On my dad's farm, this stuff, it grows right next to mesquite trees everywhere.
So you had to really be hungry to go through that much work for the greens then.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. That's going to be on my last resort list there. But good to know.
Yeah, and it's real easy to identify because of the dark black berries and the red stems.
Yep. Gotcha. Awesome.
All right, fellas. This here, me and Tim, we was just walking down the creek here in western Tennessee, and this is watercress. And this is a superfood. This is packed full of vitamins and minerals, and basically all of them.
Yeah.
This is part of the mustard family. It has a very strong mustard flavor. As far as using it as a food, I'd say just as a salad green. I'm sure you could probably steam it and make it kind of into like a spinach. But this stuff, it always grows right next to water, if not in the water.
And it has a very distinct mustardy flavor. You can really, it's very potent as far as flavor. Excellent plant. And I was just reading in the guidebook all of the vitamins and minerals it has, and it truly is a superfood. Truly is amazing. And it's just growing here for free. All right, let's head on down the creek.
Yes, sir. All right, guys, we just come across another wild plant out here in the creek. Some of y'all are thinking, I know that, it's a cattail, right? Well, you're wrong. This is an iris. And every member of the iris family is toxic. Of course, they don't have the most notable wild corn dog looking thing coming up out of a cattail.
Right.
So if you're going to harvest cattails, you always make sure and double check.
Make sure it's not an iris.
Right. And the way that you tell is how the leaves come together when they're going down in the soil and water.
Look at that. Interesting.
But we're going to try to find some cattails here before long.
I'll show you the difference.
Show you the difference in the root system and different parts that you can harvest and use in the cattails.
Alrighty, good deal, man.
Guys, another great wild edible plant here. This is a Jerusalem artichoke or a sunchoke. They're not related to an artichoke at all. They're more closely related to sunflower. They grow tubers in the ground like potatoes. Some can be relatively large, others are smaller. They can have a nutty flavor to a milder flavor. The thing to remember about Jerusalem artichokes, they contain a chemical called inulin, and you want to wait to harvest your tubers after a good hard freeze. That kind of gets rid of some of the inulin. And you don't really want to eat these raw. You can, but the inulin is real bad about giving people gas and stomach upset. So definitely want to cook them. You can fry them up like fried potatoes, roast them. You can even mash them up like mashed potatoes. You know, season them with all your favorite spices and herbs.
Yep, you got a nice patch of them here.
Yes, yeah, makes a good side dish.
Awesome, awesome, good deal.
We found us another useful plant. Not really an edible, but it's definitely a medicinal plant and one for other uses for gathering food. This is mullein, better known as common mullein. This one's a little past its prime. Again, we're in August. The leaves are usually a lot bigger than this, and they're very soft. It's also known as nature's toilet paper, cowboy's toilet paper. A lot of people on Telegram has mentioned, you know, smoking the dried leaves for lung issues. I don't recommend it because mullein is extremely harsh. You can dry the leaves and make a tea out of it. This stalk here, the seed stalk, in the spring will have bright yellow flowers on it. And if you want to use this for lung issues, you can take the yellow leaves, put them in a jar, and cover them with honey or sugar, and it'll break down the tissues of the flower and extract all the good stuff for lung ailments. And it works just like Mucinex. You know, it gets rid of the phlegm and mucus in your lungs, you know, whenever you're sick. Another great use, of course, is the seeds. You can break the seeds open using a mortar, pestle, or food processor, and the seeds contain saponins, and what that does is it's a fish stunner. You know, it's going to take a lot of seeds, but you look at how big this.
Yeah, look at that seed head. Yeah.
And you know, I bet this one plant right here probably have over 100,000 seeds in it, if not more.
So you take those seeds, strip them off, and pound them up and pulverize them or whatever.
Right.
Put that in the body of water to stun the fish, so that you can.
Just a slow-moving stream or like a small pond. You know, fast-moving, it'll just move it out too quickly.
Yeah.
You know, like a part of this creek behind you, Tim. You know, I mean, part of that would be just fine, but other parts of it, the water's just moving too fast.
Yeah.
It'll just push it in and push it out.
And you can see all around. I mean, we're standing in a whole pile of them right here. All the way around. It's not just this one plant. They're all over. So multiple uses. So you can use that as toilet paper. You can use it as a lung cleansative. Make your cough syrup and also your fish stunner. So that's a very, very useful plant to know.
And this long stalk, whenever it's completely dried and dead in the wintertime, in the center of it, it has a pith, kind of like a punk that you get whenever you buy fireworks.
Yeah.
That really takes a spark and will sit there and smolder, and it's really good tinder for making fireworks.
Excellent tinder.
Yeah.
A very, very useful plant. Awesome. Good deal.
All right, tribe, we found some more wild goodies here. This is a wild carrot, also known as Queen Anne's lace. The identifying factors on this flower is the dark black spot in the middle of the flower and this lacy green leaflets underneath the flower. This is a plant that can easily be confused with hemlock. And
poison hemlock, right?
Poison hemlock, yes. And you don't want to get these mixed up. This is in the later stages of going to seed. It'll kind of cup up and make like a little bird's nest inside there.
Right there. Yep.
This is it's wild edible. You can actually eat the root like a regular carrot. However, it's not orange. It's a little bit more woody.
Okay.
But little known fact about Queen Anne's lace, it was actually used as a form of birth control.
Really?
For Native American Indians. I can't remember if it was the seeds that they used or the roots, but there have been studies on it, and it's actually an effective form of birth control.
And it's all out in here. We're just on the side of the road. You can see there's the highway there, and it is just everywhere out here. Not just a pretty flower. Awesome.
Yeah, good stuff to know.
Yep.
Y'all might know what this is. For those of y'all that don't, this is staghorn sumac. I'm sure a lot of y'all have read on online forums about bushcrafters making some kind of lemonade or drink out of this stuff. I personally don't use it for that. I just don't like it whenever it's mixed in liquid as a tea or lemonade. What I do is dry this stuff out and use it as a seasoning. It has a tart, lemony flavor. It's excellent on fish and chicken. And it's also good for a seasoning on another wild edible. And me and Tim, we're on the lookout for it right now. But just remember this, because we're going to try to find some a wild edible that's called Cossack asparagus. And we find what we're looking for, we'll definitely show y'all.
Sounds good, man. All right, what we're looking at here is a hog trail. It's a hog and a deer trail, and I've got this set up for hogs here. And we've just been having an off-camera discussion, but I'm going to review basically what we did. The first thing is I'm looking for a place on the trail where there is a tree close enough to the side of the trail that I can have my support wire reaching out, and I can also anchor the snare to good and high. And so this right here fits the bill. You can see there's some blocking there, that's natural blocking. I didn't add anything. My snare is right here in the center of that trail. So let's take a closer look. What I'm using here is a 1/8 inch 7x7 cable snare with a cam lock, heavy duty snare. The snare is terminated with a number 12 double barrel swivel right there. You can see that swivel. Then I have an extension cable that's also 7x7 1/8 inch cable. And you can see that is anchored off good and high. This is probably 6.5 feet, maybe 6 feet 6 inches. Now you can see I've just twisted it, just run it through the swivel right there. This is not going to support any swiveling action. That is where your swivel action is going to be happening. Now you can see I have my support wire here. This is 11 gauge support wire. You can use 9 gauge, 14 gauge, or 11 gauge. For me, this is too far of a reach for 14 gauge. 14 gauge is going to be too floppy. You can use a 9 gauge, which would work great, but 9 gauge is so stiff it can be hard to work with pliers in the woods. And so I've got my 11 gauge wire sticking out, and it just terminates in the support collar right there. This took, what do you say, Clint, 2 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, two and a half.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes to set up, and that's with me flapping my gums. Now, the reason that I anchor high is once that snare comes through, the hog comes through and he gets caught in the snare, when he goes, he's not going to get a perpendicular pull. He's going to be pulling at an angle. So he's not going to get full power to try and pop that cable. The next thing is you'll notice I selected a tree that is sturdy enough to hold the hog, but also has some give to it. This functions as a shock absorber, or basically a built-in shock spring, so that he can't pop the cable. Now this loop, this is where you're going to have to play with it, but you can see my knee is a little bit higher than center. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to look at the size of the hog tracks on the trail, or if they're rubbing trees, you can look at the rub marks on the trees to determine what size hogs that you're dealing with. Now, let me step around to the other side here. And you can see they're rooting all in this area. This is all just tore up. I don't know if it'll show up on video, but I mean, they're just all in here. You know, they've torn the whole area up. But what they're doing is they're running through here, and maybe that will give you a better look at the setup. Right there. Very quick, very simple, very cheap, and very effective. All right, we're at the exact same spot here, and I've got this set up for deer. And what I've done is I've modified the set a little bit, and I've used a little bit different snare. So let's take a look at it. The first thing that you're going to notice is, once again, I have anchored high, okay? Why do I anchor high on a deer? Well, when that deer starts wrapping around and around and around and around and around as he fights, when he ends up wrapping completely up against this tree, I want him to be suspended by his neck, okay? So anchor up high. It has nothing to do with shock absorber or anything. It's just, if he starts to wrap around this tree, I want him to hang neck high, okay, so that when he gives out, he's going to self-asphyxiate. I've got the same number 11 support wire coming out here. Now, I'm using a little bit different snare. I am using a 3/32 inch diameter snare, and you can see just how long this is, and this goes over to the snare itself. The reason that I'm using such a long cable is, when that deer hits that snare, I want him to take off like a bat out of hell. And I want him to run all the way down this trail 15 feet or so. And then when that cable runs out, it's going to snatch him off his feet, and it's going to lock down super, super hard. And in other words, it's going to constrict around his throat to an incredible degree. If I had that snare just right there, he would only have 2 or 3 feet to pull and get a tight cinch. But if I give him 10 or 12 feet to run, when he's going full out and he hits the end of that cable, it's going to snatch the crap up out of him and cinch it down tight on his throat. And he'll probably have about 3 minutes to live at that point. And that's what I want. I don't want him alive, beating up the meat, full of adrenaline and all that. I want him choked down and down out of the way, where he's not causing a commotion. He's not causing people to come investigate. So the next thing that you'll notice is I've got a pole over it. When a deer comes up, he's got 2 choices. He can go over this pole, or he can go under the pole. Everything that animal does in nature is calorically driven. His decisions are driven by, is it going to cost me more calories to jump over, or is it going to cost me more calories to go under? You answer that question. If you have to jump over something, you're going to burn a lot more calories than if you can just duck under it and keep walking. So this duck stick is going to make sure that he ducks under the pole into the noose. Now, one of the things that I was just discussing here was that one trick is, I will take corn and I will dribble corn up and down the trail. What this does is, this keeps that deer's head focused down here. So he's not looking up here at head level, he's not at waist level, whatever. I'm keeping his attention down here. Then when he gets to it, you can see that I've taken a little piece of a twig there, and I've hung it inside the snare loop hanging down. That's called a chin up. So that when he gets to this critical juncture, instead of his eyes hitting that, he's going to pick his head up and go through the opening right through there where it's nice and clear. He's going to go under the pole, and he's going to go above the chin up. And that's just suspended right there. That's not going to interfere with the closing of the snare at all. Just like that. Once he's in, he hits it, off he goes, and then he gets snatched up, and that's it. Now let's say that I didn't make a catch. It takes about 10 or 15 seconds to unclip the snare, roll it up, stick it in your pack. Support wire can stay right here, down out of the way. Just like that. From a distance, you can hardly see anything is there. Next time you want to come make this set, your support wire is already cut, it's already wired in, it's already tightened up. All you have to do is extend it, clip your snare on, and put it in. You can do it in 30 seconds. If anybody's walking through the woods, they would have to be a trapper, or more specifically a snareman, to, number one, understand what that is and what's been going on here. If somebody is not familiar with snaring, they're going to have no idea what that is. And once that weathers and sets up with a little rust on it and what have you, it's going to be virtually invisible. So, you know, just something to keep in mind there. All right, well, it's been a long day, and I tell you, I have learned a tremendous amount from Clint. I really have. And the thing is, you know, it's not only that I've learned about this particular plant or that particular plant, but I've learned how to identify them and what the characteristics of identification are, and the different places to look and what to look for when it comes to identification. And Clint has given me this book. And I'm telling you, if you're interested in this, this is a wonderful book. It's called Free Food and Medicine, and it's by Marcus Rothkranz. The book is just beautifully illustrated. The organization is wonderful, and it's just a great guidebook. And I really appreciate you giving me this, Clint.
Absolutely, no problem.
It's really given me some new insight, and I just want you to know I've had a wonderful time today, and I appreciate you sharing your knowledge with me.
Yes, sir.
And with everybody watching.
Yeah, we sure made a day of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, even though it was August and it was hot, it was fun.
Right, absolutely. I had a blast. I appreciate you inviting me and
No problem.
have me come down and shoot this video with you.
And you know, when we got to the end of this scene here, looking over to our right here, there was a huge find of oyster mushrooms, and I'll put a picture of that up. So it was a great way to end the day. And so I filled the dump pouch up with them right here, and they're going to get thrown in the skillet as soon as I get home. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.